buddy Ron got this code 2757 for the torque converter. Here's the information the scan tool gives us. I'm going to walk you through how to fix this. Well, welcome back, friends. Our last guest, the LS430, it was such a popular guest that it's come back. Unfortunately, the therapy did not work last time as well as intended. It started off great. A few months into it, things got hard again. And now it's got a shift solenoid problem. Don't worry. As Jeff Spicoli would say, I can fix it. So let me walk you through how we're going to do this, and let's go on a journey through this car relationship. Let's go. All right, fellas, there's two 10mm bolts up here. Go ahead and just take those out. That's a cover, and you're going to need to access that to fill the transmission once we're done servicing it. When you go pull this out, just rotate it down, pull it right out the side, comes right out. Go ahead and use your 15/16 and take this fill plug out. It's going to help the transmission fluid flow out a little easier. And you're going to need to have it out anyways when you go to service it, when you go to fill the transmission fluid back up. So you go to drain this out, it's 14mm. If you have any doubts of how much to put back in, grab an old ammo box, a canteen, anything that you could accurately see how much you actually took out, and then you'll just put back in what you took out. And as long as it wasn't overly filled before or underly filled, you'll be all right. All right, to get the pan out of here easily, you're gonna need to go ahead and take off this. You could probably do it without this, but it would get messy. So go ahead and take off this splash shield, and then we're gonna take off this bracket here. All right, these are 10mm nuts right here. And go ahead and take this bracket off here. It'll just make it a lot easier to get the pan to come straight down instead of trying to wiggle it around this. And that's, you know, you don't want to work around a relationship, you want to work with it. All right, with that stuff out of the way, you go ahead and just remove these 10mm bolts here. This pan will come right down. When you get to the end, I like to leave one bolt in at this end, not all the way, but partly in there. That way, as I get this to release, it doesn't just go splat, come down, hit me in the face. The last time we used the right stuff, and I'm a big fan of the right stuff, and this stuff's a hell of a gasket maker. Of course, it's gonna need a little bit of love to come down. And so you can just use a flathead screwdriver, or I'm using this pry bar. And you just stick it between the pan and the transmission, and you don't want to get prying on it real hard and mangle the thing up. But you just smack loose in a couple places, it'll come down. You hear it start to let go. I see the whole thing's moving. Yeah, just give it a little pry. Sometimes the relationship needs a little physical attention. And so I can feel that it's starting to want to come loose. And that's why we kept those two bolts in. Now we'll go ahead and pull this one out. And just lower it right on down. All right, so we're doing the SOU solenoid for this vehicle. It's this one here. And I'll show you in just a minute. We'll go over to my bad toolbox, said toolbox. And look at my MacBook, I'll show you a diagram how you can identify all the solenoids. All right, hey, we need to know which solenoid we're going to replace if we're going to replace one. Lexus issued a TSB on this. I imagine it must have been somewhat of a regular occurrence for them to issue a TSB. They must have had some Nissan engineer working for them, and you know, he didn't quite cut it, so he had to go. That wasn't good for the client manufacturer relationship. Check it out. Pay close attention, please. This is not for the 04 and 05 LS430. We'll get to that in a moment, and we'll show you how to identify those solenoids. But for these models, here it is. Pow, right there. Let's move on to the other model for the 04 and 05. All right, check it out. Here's our 04 and 05 Lexus solenoid identifications. Here's what we got. please pay close attention to these pins right here. When you remove this bolt that removes this bracket that holds in these pins, that hold in these solenoids, don't lose these pins. They're important. Details are important. Like in the Bible, the book of Matthew says that Joseph was the son of Jacob. And then in the book of Luke, it says Joseph was the son of Heli. Well, how can he have two different dads? He can't. This is the Roman Empire. They do not do two dads in the Roman Empire. What it means is Heli was Mary's father. And it says he was being the son of, like as supposed, like because he was the son-in-law. And that's why it says that. So there's no contradiction there in the Bible. It's just a detail that people often overlook. If this is helping you out, great. I'm glad I was able to provide you with some information that will help you address the problems. You want to say thanks, buy me a Chipotle burrito? That'd be great. There's a PayPal link down below. And if you think I sound like William Jefferson Clinton, that is not my intent. What is. What is here. Isn't here really just there without the T? I don't know. Did you enjoy this video? Let me know. Help me help you. All right, so when you go to pull this out, there's an 8mm bolt right here, but there's a little pin underneath that, and you want to make sure that you don't lose that pin. That pin keeps it from just pulling right out. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull this, and don't lose this pin. If you do, you're gonna be having a bad day. So that's the pin right there. My fingers are on it. I'm going to pull it right down. Don't lose that. That is vital to the relationship. When you're going to pull this out, since we're not going to be reusing the solenoid and you don't want to have to fight with this plug, you can just go ahead and cut the tab right here that secures the tab on the plug itself. We'll just snip this right here so we can pull it out. All right, guys, so we've got our brand new this is official Toyota solenoid. This is not aftermarket. You cannot put aftermarket in a relationship. If you do that, that's like adding a second wife to a marriage. I barely do a good enough job with one wife. To have multiple wives, that'd be difficult. You want to use factory Toyota parts with your Toyota Lexus. We got a factory one here. Now check this out. If you guys get a good shot of this, we got my cameraman Ron here. You can see that the new one here on my left hand, it's got a screen filter around it. And that's gonna help keep crap out of it so that it doesn't act up. You can see in the original one in my right hand, there is no filter. And that could have led to the demise of this relationship. All right, so we're going back together now. We're ready to wrap this thing up. I like to put a little transmission fluid on it and we'll just slide it right in here. Don't jam it in the hole. Do not jam this in the hole. You gotta jam it, something's not working right. Go ahead and put a little bit of grease on there. Smush it around. And then when you stick it up in here, it's gonna go ahead and wanna stay in there, not fall out. So that way you're not fighting it as you're going back together. You've gotta rotate it to where the slot is that it slides into. I forgot where it was. There's more than one slot on this, and so you want to make sure you pick the right slot. All right, it's not this one here, it's going to be this longer one here. Slide it in. Now we'll put our bracket back on. Keep those pins in. If you lose the pins, you're gonna want to put something in there. So you may have to get creative and just file a little dowel down, but definitely don't put it back in with no pins. And don't be afraid to make a pin. If you dropped it, went down the drain, just make one. All right, so now we're gonna go back together. Let's put our filter back in. Make sure you get the O-ring to seat on this end. The official Griffzilla torque spec is 3 diagnostics with a light duty 3/8 gun. So it'll be like, oh, there it is, 3 diagnostics. Torque, 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 torque. Before we put the gasket back on, we want to make sure we got our mating surfaces clean. So I take some brake clean, a little Scotch-Brite pad. Ask your wife if she's got some Scotch-Brite. If not, well, go get a wife if you don't have one. While getting your pan off, if you happen to go ahead and bend a little bit of the pan, that's okay, don't freak out. That's an easy fix to that relationship, all right? Go ahead and lay your pan on a flat surface, and if it bends up a little bit, you can just use your hammer, take a punch, and you can just smack it back down, that's okay. Don't go hog wild with it, all right? But you just want to make sure when you look at it, it's a nice level surface, so it's not bent all cattywampus. That's not. You want to clean the bottom of the transmission, and then now we've got our pan all cleaned up. I like to use the right stuff. And it's called the right stuff for a reason. It's the right stuff. You can't go wrong with the right stuff. No endorsement was paid by the right stuff to do this commercial. Hey, as we go back together, got a beat of the right stuff on here. Remember, it's the right stuff. So we'll do one more check up here, make sure everything's clean. My cameraman, go ahead and get a shot of the bottom of the tranny here. And just one more time, I want to make sure everything is clean all the way around, and we'll be ready to mount this bad boy out, guys. So we're gonna go back up. Got our surfaces clean. Try to line it up here and give it a little. And all right, I like to go ahead and get one set at one end and then one at the other end. And don't put them in all the way, but go ahead and just seat the bolt so that it's starting to make contact, and do that on each end. That way you don't got to keep holding it up. All right, guys, so we went ahead and we got one set at one end and one at the other end, and now we can go ahead and we'll just get the other ones. All right, so then we got to torque them down. Here's the torque. That's torque. I kind of like to alternate here. Torque a little bit there, then torque a little bit there, and then go over here and torque a little bit. And come on back this. I don't leave this side out. You know, it's not good for the relationship. So we like to torque, not twerk. All right, so we need to, once we put our fluid in, we need to make sure it's at the correct level. To do that, you want to check the transmission with the fluid between 115 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that is Celsius, but I'm sure Google can tell you. Anyways, if you don't have a scan tool like this here to tell you what the transmission temp is, and here it says 118, go ahead and get yourself a temp gun. You can get a cheap one, Walmart, $15, or you can spend $60 to get the Milwaukee. They do the same thing. There you go ahead and you just put it right up there on the fill plug. We're at 119, and then we're at a acceptable range to check the fluid. So to check it, we're just gonna go ahead and loosen this up, and we want to see a dribble out of here, consistent dribble. We don't want to see it gushing out. That means it's overfilled. And now I did put a lot of fluid in here to begin with, so if it comes gushing out, we'll just wait for it to get to a dribble. So we wait for that to get to a dribble, and that's where we want to be. When we're between 115 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the acceptable checking range. I figure it's way safer to overfill it and let it come out than to underfill it and have it be all dried up. That transmission's farting on me. Oh, that's about where we want it. So you see we got a pretty steady drip coming out, and that's where we want it. That's the perfect level. Check our temp again. And we're at 121. We're right where we need to be. We're in the sweet spot now. I really appreciate you guys' time and viewership. I'll see you next time.